Supermarket sushi, really?
No. Wait, Troy, you work here?
I'm never not working. Like Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology, up to 100% dandruff protection, even between washes.
Never not working, huh?
Oh, Troy, you're such a good teacher.
Yeah, I know. Never not working. Never not working. Never, ever not working.
Are you serious?
Never not working. Dandruff protection that's never not working. Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
This is Brian Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN SportsWrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN SportsWrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
Well, hey, good morning. It is a beautiful Sunday morning here in Midtown Atlanta on the campus of Georgia Tech University here at McNeese Ballpark, Rush Chandler Stadium. It's a Florida Classic edition of the SWAC Baseball Championship between Florida A&M and Bethune-Cookman. Brian Fulford, AD Drew here. And AD, we are an hour and a half away from Florida invading the SWAC, as we like to say it, man. It's a Florida Classic edition. We are, hey, who called that, Drew? Who called it? Somebody here called this a week ago. Right on the SportsWrap. Told you this was going to happen. You know, even though. I had wishful thinking, but I didn't have to be in this case. Hey, even though both teams had to do it from out of the elimination bracket, they got it done. And so more excited, the Rattlers had to overcome the demon of Alabama State, the preseason favorite, the number one overall team, the top team during the season in the SWAC. And for Bethune-Cookman, hey, Cats have 9 lives, man, and hopefully they used all 9 of them. That's what I'm going to personally hope, but they used a lot of lives to get here, and then they just turned on the bats in the what we call the semifinal games yesterday, right here.
Open up a can.
Opened up a can early on Grambling State and never looked back. So congratulations to Coach Hernandez, who we had on the show. And I told him, I said he had to meet us there, right? I had a feeling we were going to get here. That was me hoping, wishful thinking. And fortunately, Coach Hernandez, really happy for him, his staff. I mean, a real great guy, good dude, watches all of our stuff, and a real big supporter. So, you know, when I can't root for us, you know, he's the one Wildcat coach I'm gonna root for. Well, I told him. I told him, and I was honest with everybody. Hey, I'm rooting for Bethune up until Sunday, and that's clear as day. So he knows that it's all good. It's all love. And like I said, that's how it's going to be with family, you know, Florida cousins. And so it's going to be a battle for, you know, we'll root for each other. And then we got to play each other. Hey, all that's out the door. There's no love. Hashtag beat BCU. And I'm saying that, you know, they're probably hashtag beat FAMU. And that's how it's going to be for however long we're here in this ballpark. And then afterwards, we'll be a little sore and we'll congratulate each other tomorrow.
How about the athletic director? Like putting out that she was going to buy tickets for the first 50 people that hit her up on her Twitter yesterday, and they had to make sure they wore Rattler gear here today.
Yes,
and about maybe an hour or two later, half of those tickets were gone.
Half of them were gone. Now I don't
know if she got. I'm assuming she got rid of them.
I hope she got rid of them because, you know, I would have made some calls, but I've been so busy over the last several hours. But yeah, you know, shout out to VP AD Sykes for being a real magnet and a big calming force. I mean, it's just doing a lot of great things here for the students of Florida A&M, and really excited to see her put that out there and really do her part to try to drive more engagement from Rattler Nation. You know, this is kind of just from, you know, just the crowds that we've seen. I know it's hard. I keep forgetting this is Memorial Weekend. You know, that's the one thing that and so there may be a lot of Rattlers who I'm sure wish they were here, but they may have made travel plans to be in other areas of the country. Why would you
expect travel plans to be anywhere but the SWAC Championship?
Well, you know, look, you know, there were a lot of people that didn't know how this was going to go. I mean, again, you know, we finished a bit of a
the month of May was not kind.
No, it was not. It was, we'll put it like that. And we had some tough losses against Alabama State and Bethune. Yeah. And so
we've avenged one set.
Yes. And now, even though, let's see, I think I was reading Gerald Thomas of the Democrat, his story. He was saying that Bethune has won 4 of the 6 during the regular season.
Correct.
All it takes is one now. There's only one game. That's all it counts.
Winner take all.
Winner take all. We throw all the rest of the stuff out the window. So got a good pregame show here as we kind of look into the various aspects of this tournament here. Game number 15, Drew.
13 on the schedule, but it's the 15th game. You know, yesterday were A and B A games, however they
if necessary.
Yeah, 12A and 12B. Something like that. 11A and 12A or something.
Yeah, so we played 14 games here. I think if my numbers are correct, let's see, FAMU is now 4-1 in this tournament. Both teams are 4-1. Yeah, I was trying to quickly do the math and see how that works. Biggest, what's been the let's talk for a second on both teams. Seminal moment for Bethune-Cookman has been which game or which moment stands out?
Come back against Jackson State. I believe that was day 1.
Day 2.
Day 2. Yes.
Day 2.
That would be day 2.
With a lot, they were in the losers bracket.
Right. And we're losing going into the 9th inning.
Bottom of the 9th inning, if I'm not mistaken.
Against Jackson State.
Right. Down 2.
Able to come back and get the victory in that game. At that moment, you kind of was like, okay, this team does have an opportunity to do it, but did they burn too much pitching was the question that I had in that game, trying to win that particular game.
And that was early. That was what day was that? Thursday. Okay,
yes.
yeah.
And then again on Friday morning, the morning game, they pumped a lot of pitching on Friday morning also. So you were wondering how much pitching does Bethune have? You know, Bethune does have arms, but there's a limitation still when it gets down to it on how many arms. You know, you saw a team such as the Texas Southern. Not Texas Southern. Southern just flat out ran out of arms on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
You saw yesterday Grambling, who ran out of arms.
Mm-hmm.
And as deep as Alabama State is with their pitching, it also seemed like they ran out of arms yesterday. Both Bethune and FAMU were able to get deep starts out of everyone in their rotation, which allowed them to, back end it. Yeah, Bethune may have used 4 or 5 pitchers in the game. FAMU may have used 4 or 5 pitchers in the game. But those pitchers were not throwing a lot of pitches in those appearances. So I think that is the difference between, and I know that I'm getting away from your original question, Brian, but I think that is the difference between why these two teams are left standing versus the other 6 teams who have gone on.
All right, so key moment for Bethune. Elimination, game 2, bottom of the 9th against Jackson State. How about for Florida A&M? Seminole moment. Key moment of the last 5 games for the Rattlers has been what?
Actually, I think it was the loss to Alabama State.
Really? Okay.
Yes. The fact that they stole defeat from the jaws of victory in that game. They had that game won. Had many opportunities to win that game in the 9th inning, despite giving up 5 runs. They had 26 good outs, could not get the 27th out. That loss is probably what has propelled them to get here to this game here today on Sunday, because you would have thought coming back Friday morning, having to play that game after the emotional drain of losing that game on Thursday evening, having to come back and play Friday morning, and then to get a 1-0 gem on Friday morning
against Prairie View
to set up another chance at Alabama State, and for them to have the focus and not look ahead to wanting to get their revenge against Alabama State, but knowing that they had to take care of business first and get the first victory in the morning. And then when Alabama State put the run on them Friday night, FAMU had a 4 or 5 run going into the 9th inning. It was a 5 run.
Yeah, 7-2 at one point, right?
Right. And then for Alabama State to score 3 in the top of the 9th inning, and for them to persevere and not get, like, okay, where have we heard this record before, Brian? It was like back in the day when you had the old albums and it got stuck and it just kept repeating until you skipped over it. But FAMU finally skipped the needle over the scratch and was able to get to the end of the song.
I agree with you on the Bethune game. What's interesting thinking about the 3 games against Alabama State, if you were to go look at the number of innings where FAMU led, they probably led for, let me see, that's 27 innings. They probably led for maybe 20 plus of those innings.
I would say probably 24 or 25 of those.
Yeah, 27. Right. That's to me, that stands out. And I think what FAMU has been able to get from their pitching, which, we knew FAMU had bats. What hasn't been consistent all season has been the pitching. And we say that from the number 2, 3, or 4 guys for FAMU. Hunter Veets has been a standout. He's a first-team all-SWAC pitcher. We knew he was the ace of the staff. But, yeah, the other – and I want to make sure I give credit to we'll come back and talk about the pitchers later, because I want to make sure I give on both sides, because we talked about the better and stronger pitching conceivably has come from the East. We had 3 of 4 from the East. We get an East championship. Not surprised. And we'll have an East champion for the second consecutive year.
First time since 2018 that we had 2 finalists from the same side of the conference in the SWAC.
Yeah.
Let's get our business out the way, then let's take our first break.
What business is that?
You haven't given the handle. You've been so excited.
I jumped right in.
You just jumped right in and started talking about the game. You haven't taken care of
let's see who's jumped
up with us this morning.
Yeah, who's up. I don't know. The stream is going out, but folks may be out. Folks may be at church.
We only own about 7 hours.
Yeah. Folks might be at church or whatever. So we'll have to make sure to re-air this tonight during our regular time slot. But thanks for everybody for watching and following the Black College Sports Network at my BCSN1, the number one. Make sure to go follow the Jericho Broadcast Network's app on the Google Play and Apple App Store. My JBN, my BCSN is where you can find it. Download the shows on the BCSN Pod Zone. BCSN Pod Zone is where you can find all the shows that appear. And so I know coming up hopefully a little bit later in this pregame, we'll have Dr. Kenyatta Cavil. Okay, so we see a few people back there. There's Bishop, Doc back there, Bishop. Charles Bishop as well.
We got to ask Bishop to break down that urban jet stream.
Yes, that's one of the topics that
that's one of the topics on the show script. So I hope he did he's ready to present his paper.
Yes, outstanding work, by the way, from Charles Edmond, Charles Bishop, Coach Roger Cato, Centoria Black, SWAC Digital Network. Outstanding job of broadcasting 14 games of SWAC baseball. Beautifully done, and also credit here to this great facility here, which is, I perfectly set up to produce a great baseball experience, to people who are streaming and jumping in and watching. So I know we got some stats and numbers, but as we get ready to go to the break, obviously these two teams coming from out of the MEAC are no strangers to championships. Within the MEAC conference, Florida A&M has won 8 baseball titles, conference titles. The last one coming when they were in the MEAC in 2019. For Bethune-Cookman, they have the most baseball conference titles of the MEAC, which no longer has baseball, Drew. So, they unless something happens and it comes back,
they are the record holder.
They are the record holder with 19 baseball championships, their last coming in 2017. So 2 teams who are no strangers to winning. And so it's kind of fitting that we are in the SWAC now. So we're going to take a short 2-minute break, come back. And we will get into some more conversation, talk about statistics, numbers. We'll try to get, as I said, we'll find out about the urban jet stream. We'll get a chance to talk to Doc on some of the finances and just the business side of conducting a tournament. So lots to talk about here over the next hour prior to the 1 p.m. Eastern start, which you can find on ESPN. The game will be broadcast on ESPN Plus, I believe, at 1 p.m. Eastern, noon Central, and you'll see the championship game between Florida A&M and Bethune-Cookman. All right, let's take a short 2-minute break. We will come back in a quick 2. You're watching the BCSN's pre-game broadcast of the SWAC Baseball Championship.
The Cavil Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay. call Cavil.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavil of Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
All right, welcome back. It's the BCSN's broadcast here, a pregame show for the 2023 SWAC Baseball Championship. Brian Fulford here, and you can see now I've got the team of Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Got the dean himself, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, and the man on the man on the ground. I'm still trying to find out the dugout man himself, right. Charles Bishop, reaching into areas that have not been touched before in terms of this broadcasting game, Charles. And so congratulations. Let's start there with, kind of how that concept came about, and then you kind of making that thing work and doing a great job of being that, boots on the ground guy to kind of move from dugout to dugout.
Sure. No, I really appreciate that, Brian. The SWAC, they're always being very innovative. They gave me an opportunity to be sort of the field reporter or dugout reporter, if you will. And I got an opportunity to build a great rapport with the coaches during the course of the tournament to where they felt, pretty comfortable talking to me down there, especially while the ball was in play. So, no, I think it turned out really well in terms of being able to get some insight that fans really wanted to hear in terms of what they were thinking and how to strategize moving forward.
What innovation? I like that.
Yeah. What kind of caught you by surprise, or talk about just the accessibility and how comfortable, or maybe which day did you feel like maybe the coaches got really comfortable with, sharing information with you? Or I find it hard to maybe think that they were, comfortable from the jump, sure, because it's something that hadn't been done before.
Sure. And naturally, you will have a couple of coaches who are reticent, but what I found overall was the coaches were more than willing to talk, and were very glib. Both coaches today, Coach Hernandez and Coach Shoup, tremendous all week in terms of taking the bull by the horns and being able to talk through what they were thinking and how they were going to strategize moving forward. But for the most part, I let them know what inning that I'd be coming to them, so they were pretty prepared and they were ready to talk. And I'm very thankful to all the coaches for sharing their insight.
And you also had some great interactions with whether it be Charles, Edmond, and Coach Kadar, or Santoria and Coach Kadar. Talk about that interaction with staying abreast of things, which I thought was that was an added element that I wasn't expecting. Because, at first when I heard about, okay, so you're just going to be, jumping in a couple innings. But then when I heard you start interacting in the game, I'm like, oh, okay, this is next level. This is good stuff.
Yeah, and it really helps. Charles and Santoria, you talk about two professionals, and they are, the voices of the SWAC. People are very familiar with their broadcasting style. But then, working with a legend like Coach Kadar. And so it was very easy to kind of just talk to them and really get insight from Coach Kadar in terms of what he was thinking and how he would strategize in certain situations and whatnot. So it became very conversational, very, very easy broadcast to do.
I agree. I love it. As you said it appropriately, Brian, innovative. Those are things that we need to continue to strive for. Sometimes they're going to be things that we have to pause because there are cost constraints around them. So we have to be mindful of that. But when we find a way to partner with folks that are serious about working their craft, folks that are serious about the business of HBCU sports, and oftentimes even more importantly, the SWAC in this particular instance, we need to do everything in our power to make it work.
Sure.
And so, I pushed it. And I don't think people understand what it takes to do this. This is not something that just happened yesterday, this week. This is multiple years in the making in terms of Charles working on his craft, building relationships. Credit to Andrew Roberts.
Yes.
Working with him over years to going back and forth with key dignitaries in the administrative level of what this would look like, how it may work, when would be the appropriate time to start it. And all those factors came together at this point, and you see the fruits of that labor. So I did want to share that this is not something that just happened yesterday or this week.
That's a good point.
And I want to take my hat off as well to James Crenshaw in terms of leading the broadcast with the production. Tremendous work that he's done all week in terms of making sure that everything went off without a hitch, and he has done a tremendous job.
Next thing is we're gonna have to work on quietly is miking up a referee or umpire, a head guy that kind of reviews plays and educates us on the correct play and why it was called from the experts.
Kind of that USFL type model.
Yeah, and you see it in NFL, NBA for years, where they would now have a crew chief person that would come in, use this
rules guy.
Rules guy. Yeah, that's kind of retired. But yeah, the latest version of this USFL. So one thing that I appreciate. Obviously, we're here in the SWAC, so I want to show the appropriate love there. But I've had a chance to work with the MIA, the SIAC, and CIAAs. Those commissioners are open to ideas, but sometimes I think as fans, we throw ideas out there and think it needs to be immediate, and we don't know all the different areas of how it affects.
Sure.
And so I take that information as a carrier between those, but I also try to think about how you implement it actually. And again, I look at cost constraints. I look at the business model. Is it human capital capacity? Is it technology a component of it? And oftentimes it may be multiple facets. But if you work with them and tell them, and sometimes I'm able to navigate the craft and tell them how they can do it within a financial reason. And when you put those things together, they tend to jump on it.
Good stuff. Charles, as it comes to these teams, Bethune and Florida A&M, what are some things that you have learned or gleaned from your conversations from these teams? Let's start with the Bethune side.
Bethune very easily, they take on the personality of their coach. I mean, it does not matter what sort of adversity that they face within this tournament. They are a very steady group. And if you take a look at, if I'm not mistaken, pretty much every game this tournament, they've been down early. But they've stayed the course, and they have good quality at bats. If you take a look up and down the lineup, not a lot of guys who've hit a lot of home runs. They don't really steal a lot of bases, but they put the bat on the ball. And that's one of the things that Coach Cater has said all week, that you have to swing the bat and see what happens. And they have swung the bat very well. They've driven the ball back up the middle. They've hit the ball opposite way, and they've just moved runners along all week. They have been steady. They have been consistent. And, I take my hat off. Coach Hernandez has knocked off Jackson State. He's knocked off Southern and to knock off Grambling, all teams who are pedigree teams who've won SWAC championships.
Yeah, he's knocked. He's been knocked off Southern once, Jackson State, Grambling twice.
It's been an impressive run.
He went through the whole West.
Went through the West.
He cleaned out the West.
He did, boy, did they?
Did Grambling twice, Southern twice.
Everybody but Texas Southern.
They split, but he cleaned it up. So that was pretty impressive when you talk about what he's getting done. especially come through the losing bracket, and he did it the hard way after losing day one. Close game, 4-2 to Southern.
Exactly.
They were right there in it. And then the other thing in the last couple of matchups, they've been their cardiac kids where they've been able to do it late in ball games. They've gotten one of the key things I always try to tell people about the tournament is that you just never know. There's usually going to be a couple of unsung heroes, oftentimes on the mound, big bat here and there that gets a crucial 2-out RBI or multiple RBI to get you either the lead or to finish it out late. And he's come from behind. He's got some pitches that went deep. And you see that on FAMU side, which is the other reason why they're here. But you talk about somebody that comes in that you're thinking may give you an inning or two, at the most maybe 3, may them giving you 6, 7 innings, sometimes into the 8th. That's everything.
I think that's been the biggest thing when you take a look at this FAM baseball team. And you to your point, Doc, you take a look at the guys who have started ball games for them in this tournament. They've given them 7 innings, 6 innings. The young man, Raylan Wagner, he stands out. He went 8 1/3. He gave up, I believe, 6 runs, but he kept them in the game. He kept wiggling them out of jams. And it was just a yeoman performance when they had to have it to just get to the game that could get them to the championship game.
You mentioned that that FAMU pitching, which really I feel like that's that group, the group of Raylan Wagner, Trey Simmons, and I guess I'd probably even say Dallas Tees.
Yeah.
3 guys who won games. Tees went 7 innings. Simmons went 6 yesterday in the semifinal. And you mentioned Wagner, who went 8 1/3. Guys that, I'm not going to lie, look, we weren't really sure. I'm saying we, Rattler Nation, but a lot of people weren't sure what those guys were going to do.
We question the arms. Let's be frank. It's what we hear of professionals. It's not to beleaguer the young men that worked their heart out, but in terms of what we saw on paper with statistics.
Coming into the weekend,
And that's what we do. You know, kudos, shout out to Mike. As he's not here, he would have told you data points. And that's why you look at data points, because these indicators. Now, they're just that. They're indicators of what will probably happen. That's why you give folks even more kudos when they go above and beyond what the expectation in terms of what the data says they are supposed to deliver. So kudos to what they were able to do.
All right, fellas, I do know, I want to note something. FAMU is in the first base dugout today. And one thing that I've noticed throughout this tournament, it seems like whoever's in that first base dugout has been the victor most of the ball games. So,
That's a good point.
Just throwing something out there to everybody.
Baseball is a game of superstition, AD. So that's one I hadn't thought about.
Drew,
that, but
look,
we'll go with
it.
Have you done
People get comfortable too.
Yeah.
And baseball is a game, as you know, playing it, a while back, is oftentimes the more comfortable you are, the more that you're able to deliver, which is the finer things that we're really looking at. So while we may just see it as, superstition, when you really dive down into it, we're talking about how you feel. And no matter what sports or what level, the better you tend to feel, the better you tend to perform. Because your mind is this is about your mind, where you are. These guys have played 5 games. They are tired. I don't care what anybody says. You can't plan for this. Yeah, you have off-season workouts and the sales good. We'll put that cliche in there, talking about how much they work, but everybody works. Sometimes it's about how do you push through and how do you make that good break. We were watching the game with my brother-in-law, nephew, and Deuce. As you know, many people have gotten some of his commentaries, fell in love with it. We were down there late, and you had some Grambling folks, Bethune folks, just to give an example. And the lady said, man, that was a lucky play. And I think the gentleman misread what she was saying that the kids weren't lucky. And he's saying where the ball was hit, because the ball hit perfectly.
With that double
Great
play.
play that he dove and caught the ball.
And
Yes,
just
the
happened
double
to
play.
land on
And
first
he
base.
landed on first place. So the play in itself was outstanding, but the ball being there where he could react in such a way to make the play is luck. And sometimes you need that. Sometimes you need fortune. Frankly, luck in tournament. It doesn't mean that the team is not playing well.
One other thing, at no point in time during the season do you play 6 games in a 4-day span.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, you kind of have to have that Iron Man mentality once you get to tournament play. So
Yeah, especially if you get that loss.
Yeah, once you get in that losers
there's
bracket,
a case you can get in that winners bracket, and that's why you lean to what and have to give even more credit for FAMU and Bethune-Cookman being able to get 2 on Friday. That doubleheader after playing 3-some games. Usually, even if the game is not won by the undefeated team in the first matchup, usually they're able to come back later in that game and get it because just the dead legs, tiredness kicks in. So I'm fascinated to see the matchup, and it happens to be the fact that it's the Florida Classic. Second year of these programs in there. You can't get better if you're a true person of the SWAC. And I'm sure from the commissioner's office, in terms of integrating teams into a conference and expansion, I'm talking about at any level. You love to see this take place from that perspective. Obviously, you may have a sweet spot for your teams and those blue bloods, barring a term. I like to say black bloods to turn away from everything whiteness, but that's a whole different discussion. But from that perspective, when you talk about it, it's like this officially integrates you in terms of playing at the level. FAMU has the unique chance, and I know you brought this up in one of the questions you had, AD Drew.
Hold that thought. Let's come back with those storylines on the other side, Doc, because it's time for our second break.
Okay.
How about that?
No problem.
All right, we'll take a short 2-minute break.
We call that a tease in the business.
Cut y'all just in time.
All right. Let's take a short 2 minutes here. You're watching the BCSN preview of the 2023 SWAC Championship Baseball Game between Florida A&M and Bethune-Cookman. Be right back.
The Cavil Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cavil.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavil of Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
All right, welcome back. It's the BCSN pregame show to the 2023 SWAC Baseball Championship. The team of the BCSN SportsWrap and Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab doing our thing right here in the media press room here at McNeese Baseball Park and Rush Chandler Stadium here on the campus of Georgia Tech. Been a great site. We've had great weather. Which that cannot be understated, how nice the weather has been. And I was kind of thinking about this a second, guys, about last year and how having to play multiple games towards the lead up to the championship game, because I think even that Saturday
there was that you had to play 2
in
because
the morning,
in
and
the morning and come
if possibly in the afternoon.
Yeah, and so this year that wasn't the case. It was just a nice 1-game semifinal, as we call it, the semifinal, the last game in bracket A, last game in bracket B.
They had to split fields. They
Yeah,
had to use a different field.
Yeah, it had to use another field. I mean, it worked out this year.
Other than the legend here, as he starts off his career, other than the urban jet stream.
Let's talk about that. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Wait. For all y'all in church, y'all better please listen quietly as Charles tells about this urban jet stream. Hit the thumbs up while you're in church. We know you can't comment right now because you want to get a rev all the attention as he gets ready to pass the plate around and give the word for the day. But you can still hit that thumbs up while you got your AirPods in and listen to Charles break down this urban jet stream.
The urban jet stream.
Yeah, Charles.
Where did you come up with?
Yeah, that was genius.
I was just sitting there and I was looking, and the funny thing about this park is kind of from pitch to pitch, the wind can shift, and it's really funny. You start taking notice how the ball just started carrying, especially going out towards right center, and you look at the flag, and the flag would potentially be blowing back toward left center. And you start taking a look like, what is going on? Why is the ball carrying such? But it just seemed as though the ball would just sort of get into this vortex going towards right center. And I don't know. It just came to my head, just started calling the urban jet stream. It was like something's going on over there. But yeah, the ball just seemingly carries out toward that right center field area, and we've seen some home runs go over there, and we've seen a lot of doubles go in that area, and the ball just would carry, and then you look up and see the center field on his trot trying to get back to the fence.
Something else I noticed, Charles, and you may have heard people coming in and commenting as you were down in the dugouts. We had a lot of interesting plays out in right field. Some that a lot of them did not go down as errors. A lot of them went down as hits or wound up being spectacular catches because it seemed like you were saying, the ball would twirl around when they get there in right field. It would sail further than somebody thought it would. Did you hear any comments from players and or coaches while you were there near the dugouts about trouble in right field? Even with the lights in right field, it seemed like the sun or the lights or something was playing havoc to the right field.
Well, one of the things I did pick up on, especially outfielders, just kind of talking about toward the right field line, and it seems as though there are Bermuda triangles, if you will, in certain areas where just the ball would dance just a little bit more, and they would just remind each other to just stay with it, stay under it, make sure that they were able to track the ball as well as they could. But they were just, and we saw it yesterday even with Grambling. They're just the ball just seems to swirl at times, and you saw yesterday Grambling's infielders had issues, their outfielders had issues, and just odd little crosswinds across the stadium.
Yeah, you saw it all tournament long, where particularly different spaces in the outfield, sometimes in the field, but the outfield, but even foul balls coming off the territory gave you problems. But in right center, I remember a couple of plays or shallow right. Coming in with the light coming into you, it was a challenge there. Good to see young baseball players coming into
the crowd. The gates are open now as we hit probably 1 hour, little less than 1 hour from our scheduled first pitch. You can see Rattler Nation, Wildcat Nation, SWAC Baseball, SWAC Nation starting to file in. You see some youth organizations, youth teams from hopefully the Atlanta area will be here, and they've got a great day. We're talking about the weather. I'm looking at the flag in left center. it's sort of calm. It's not
it's holding
swirling,
steady
it's
now.
holding steady.
It looks calm to us. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, just as you said it starts to bleed out.
I know. I knew I shouldn't have said so. I was waiting on it. I was saying, okay, is it going to stay where
I
it's
saw
going?
you trying to pause to see if it tricked you. It let you get it out, and then it was like, okay, let me show.
It's an illusion. It looks calm.
Hey, nobody can see the flag right now because we don't have a camera that way. So whatever you would have said, Brian, they would have went with it.
I got you.
And I did want to make mention of this, Brian. The work that the grounds crew has done with the infield, it's been tremendous. When you look at the number of games played on this field, that they've done a tremendous job in terms of dragging and keeping it watered. And one of the things the infielders made mention, you're going to get true hops. So we've seen some stellar defensive plays.
Ooh,
yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. The other thing, when you talking about a little bit of the business of this, fascinating to see that Nike is happy. Obviously, the final two championship, you have Nike and subsidiary with LeBron James.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of the championship game. And that were the only two teams of Nike that were represented. The rest of were either Adidas or Under Armour. Under Armour had 3, Adidas had 3, and then you had the 2 with Nike. And the Nike teams come out in regards to playing for a championship game. So that's always fascinating to see, the apparel side of this and different ways to look at it from business and see what that looks like as well.
Hey, Dr. Cavil, before we went to break, we were talking about some of the storylines from the tournament. You were about to get into some of the interesting storylines. So what is your number one storyline for today's game?
I think the number one storyline is the fact that you have the Florida 2 schools playing for it, and they integrate in terms of the SWAC. The 2 newest expansion members play for, as Charles alluded to, probably the top 3 main sports in the conference. Arguably, somebody might put baseball as 4 between women's basketball. But with that said, when championships in Olympic sports are special, all championships means something, obviously, in terms of the Commissioner's Cup. There's something about playing for a football, basketball, or baseball championship. Here you are, got your 2 expansion members. You talk about FAMU, opened up the year when they came in, winning pretty much one of the first championships in volleyball 2 years ago, repeated this year. Got a chance to close out the second year with a championship. Or you talk about Bethune-Cookman, who is yet to win a SWAC championship and hadn't won one in the MEAC for a while. So that would be special on their side, particularly when you talk about how the year kicked off with FAMU having to open up with North Carolina and all that. I don't want to rehash it, but we know the stories. To clean that up and go out with a championship is significant. And then you talk about the fact Bethune-Cookman. We know it took place, what they've been dealing with all year long, particularly in terms of the coaching hire. You come out and earn your first championship, a lot of that makes it a little easier to come out and tell folks that you're doing better and feeling better. So to me, that's the biggest story, the fact that the 2 schools are playing for it and how they may end up the year.
Charles, what about you, Dr. Cavil? We asked for what Dr. Cavil gave about 3 storylines. So you got any storylines you're looking at, Charles?
Yeah, I think the biggest storyline for me is definitely you have the 2 Florida schools that are playing for the SWAC championship, and especially when you think in regards to recruiting, all the good baseball that's played in the state of Florida. This has to be a tremendous boon for the Bethune-Cookman program as well as the Florida A&M program when you look at all the great baseball that is played in the state of Florida.
And here in Georgia.
And here in Georgia as well,
Atlanta,
exactly.
If
you look at every roster, the Atlanta area in particular is well represented on pretty much every roster in the Southwestern Athletic Conference.
Yeah, I'm going to give a little interesting one. Coach JB Shue, opportunity to win both a BAC and a SWAC title. And normally you have to change schools. As a head coach, normally you have to change schools to do that. But the school decided to change conferences, so he gets the opportunity to do that, winning MEAC championship in 2019, and with the opportunity here 4 years later to win it in the SWAC. Coach Johnny Hernandez was an assistant coach on the 2017 Bethune team that won the MEAC title, also with that same opportunity, this time as a head coach with the Wildcats this year. How about
talking about that is you throwing Alabama State doing it as assistant coach at Bethune-Cookman and then heading over to Alabama State. Getting it done, you did Melendez. But you all talk about the fact to get there for FAMU wins. Coach, he's done it by defeating that coach. That's pretty big.
Right.
Pretty big and stellar.
Correct.
Tells you also where a lot of good baseball is being played right now.
Right, because he came from the state of Florida. How about the first time since 2008 that we've had two teams from the same state battling for the SWAC championship? Dr. Cavil, that one was
I like
part
the
of
last
part
time
of
that
your
happened.
heart because you on both sides of that one right there with Texas Southern and Prairie View.
Yeah, we've shifted to basketball now. We fell out a little bit of that. We got to find a way to get back into business, baseball, football, and basketball. I like when it's shifted to the Lone Star State.
Yeah.
All right, Brian. I think we've taken a lot of the storylines. You got anything out that we did not put out there as far as the storyline?
No. You got one, Charles?
Well,
Go ahead.
when you think about both of these teams coming from the SWAC East, how difficult will the SWAC East be? And I talked to Coach Hernandez about this. He's like, and he really expects it to be this way, that when you take a look at not just the teams that were represented here in the SWAC tournament, but even the teams like Alabama A&M and Mississippi Valley, you could very well see a changing of the guard or flip-flop from each year between the first through the fourth seeds in terms of getting to this tournament. So I think the bigger thing is you have some parity on SWAC East and SWAC West side of the ball, and you're going to see some great ball being played in the next few years.
Let me piggyback off of that. At first I was thinking, okay, should I rant about the whole SWAC Hitter of the Year thing again? I said, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that today. It is said what it said, and it's been spoken.
For Wednesday.
Okay.
Who was the best in the RBI part of that?
I don't.
Because I know sometimes we look at slugging percentage, hitting percentage, but it's unique.
But I'll say here's my counter to I remember you talked about the RBI thing, and my counter to the RBI thing is it's hard to get RBIs when you're the 1-2 guy in a lineup.
Right, but I'm saying if you are a coach, and that's how they really took at it, you don't look just at one data point to make a choice for the person. So I'm not saying that it wasn't correct and you have argument. But I think sometimes we get so in our mind's eye and we look at one thing and we forget about it. And then we do talk about the East. And I think the East has a strong case to talk about it being stronger. But I think we say that without really looking at how much stronger it may be. Is it a significant difference or is it stronger?
What's interesting is, do you value the conference-only stats versus the overall stats?
I do from this perspective. And I think that's another one. I think because it's a conference award. So you should be looking more at the conference part of it.
Yeah. But what about the argument in that everybody doesn't play everybody because of the divisional format? So
I think that's another
conference only stats with a grain of salt? Because
I don't think you take it with a grain of salt, but I do think you have to put that as part of your analysis. So it's just like when you do your analysis in terms of the poll. You weigh different things in there. You don't just take one thing. You look at it all and you shake it in there and the computer spits it out. But you take it all of it. But what Charles thinks is important, he may weigh slightly heavier than what you think is important. What I think is important, what AD, all of us may have a sweet spot where we think a note of reference is slightly more important, and that's what's great because that creates the dialogue.
I've always weighted on base percentage higher than probably what everybody else does, because to me, getting on base is the thing for the RBI guys. I know OPS puts slugging percentage and on base percentage together, but to me, it's the table setter, the person that gets on base the most. And Coach Cater kept saying this all week. In terms of getting runners on, 63% of the time, when you the leadoff person is on, that they score, and that is a big stat.
And let's take something else. What about that number 2 hitter, not only in your lineup but in the inning, who essentially loses at bats because a lot of time he's asked to take a few pitches so that your runner can steal,
sacrifice your man over,
or let him steal and then sacrifice. Well, he loses a quality at bat opportunity but he's sacrificing that to help his team out. And
That's
there's
true.
no way to really to really quantify that outside of looking at how many sacrifices somebody has throughout the season. So same thing with that number 3 hitter. How many sacrifice flies does this person wind up having? He's losing their bats. He's picking up the RBIs, but those are different things that you have to weigh in when you look at these awards. Are they really that type of team player?
So let me rewind all the way back.
I do like the final part. We do agree on this part. I do think they need to expand the voting to some of the media, particularly those media that have shown that they've covered this for 5+ years or so.
Yes. I was going to piggyback on what, Charles, you were talking about. I think this East and the dominance of the East, what it may do to the West is they're going to have to do some improvements, and it's going to start with scheduling.
I don't know if it'll be scheduling, because I think scheduling is unique to your area, because sometimes scheduling gets tougher in terms of who you have in your region. And you got to remember, scheduling is not just you. You has to be reciprocated from teams that want to play you.
Okay, that's a great point. But I will say this, and, when you look at the non-conference scheduling amongst the top 3 East teams, compared it against the top 3 in the West, it was drastically different.
Yeah,
and I remember.
I'm not arguing that.
I remember Coach K.
But I'm saying that you cannot use that as a definitive data point to say that's the reason why they're better.
No, I'm not using it as a data point. What I'm using it as one of those things that say when you see that changing of the guard and that okay, for example, I'm trying to use an example. When somebody comes into the conference,
people tend to replicate it, but I think it's not just scheduling. What I think I hear what coaches, what they want to replicate is the depth in pitching.
Okay.
They attribute the teams on the East being better in regards to their ability when they get in tight space is their quality of depth in pitching.
Okay.
Not necessarily scheduling. So I'm not arguing that they're going to chase them. We're going over semantics in regards to what they're going to chase.
That's a good point. Okay. That's a good point.
Here's the thing, though. Here's what scheduling can possibly help you out with that, because maybe you're able to schedule games against opponents in the part of the country where some of our Eastern teams are playing, which may, i.e., help recruiting.
Let me give you this and be frank about it. Texas Southern is going to have a problem with scheduling people until they get their new ballpark. Okay. Teams in that area do not want to come to McGregor Park and play this.
Okay.
So let me get very frank with y'all so y'all understand.
Okay. Thank you for bringing
some
it
of
down.
the things, the dilemma in regards to how you schedule. There are not as many division teams in Louisiana, for example, as you have in Florida. So it's not a problem in Texas. You have all the Division I teams you need to play, but they're not coming to McGregor. You have more of them that will come to Prairie View, and they tend to play a high number of Division I because of that. So that's what I'm saying. Scheduling is not simply saying, hey, I want to do this. You have to have folks that say you want to do this, and you're not going to play all your games on the road because that don't make sense either.
That's a good point. AD, there was an interesting numbers that you broke down, attendance and streaming numbers. Right here.
You go back.
Because AD broke down some great numbers in terms of the 14 games to date.
Oh, nice.
And looking at some of the attendance numbers here in the ballpark, but more importantly, some of the streaming numbers as well on the SWAC Digital Network. So,
this is accurate as of this morning.
Okay, so in terms of the most in-game, the most attended games, we've got, it looks like the last game of day one, which was Jackson State and Grambling State with over 1,000, with nearly 5,000 streaming. How are we calling that? Are we calling that unique views or just how does that usually work on the YouTube?
I think YouTube counts
every view.
Okay,
so over 5,000 or nearly 5,000.
FAMU ASU was the top.
Yeah, I was just pointing out I was starting with the in-game attendance.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then let's see, in day two,
your most attended game? Actually, you had a great day on day 2 because even with the early morning Prairie View TSU game, then you get into about 700 people for the Bethune-Jackson State, little over 800 for FAMU, Alabama State, and just a little drop to 760 Southern Grambling State. But those middle games between Bethune-Jackson State, FAMU, Alabama State drew in just around 6,000 unique streaming views.
Wow.
With that FAMU Alabama State game so far being the highest watched game according to the numbers on the SWAC Digital Network, just over 6,300 views. And then, of course, that Bethune-Jackson State game coming in just under 6. And it's almost fitting given the drama of those games. You know what I'm saying?
And those 2 games were back to back.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
those
people stuck around because they were excited about the matchup.
Or texting people, calling people, yo,
they
you
were
need to get on
texting people,
and
hey,
see
man,
this.
this is a good one. You need to see this.
Yeah.
Twitters are going up because people are tweeting it and those kind of things. So it's fascinating to see how that attracts more viewers as well. Over 66,000 views.
Yeah, in total, if you total up all 14 games, 66,000
That's
views
impressive. Yeah.
on the SWAC Digital Network. Hopefully a lot of those people who tuned in subscribed. Know, I'm sure that's what Andrew Roberts would like. Hey, hopefully these folks subscribed and stuck around, and will stick around. And then here in the ballpark, in total, we've had a little over 11,000.
So I talked to Charles to give some updates, and the commissioner, when I say Charles, in this case, Charles McCullen, he was talking about that percentage-wise, they were seeing an uptick in the numbers here. So thus far, and that was yesterday when we discussed that, he was excited about the numbers and where they were trending. So just to give people some comparison, they are up compared to what they were the last couple of years in terms of their attendance.
And everybody makes this big thing about people being here, and yes, attendance is important for the atmosphere of the ball game, but you can definitely get more eyes on a screen than you can get in anybody's stadium.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's that business side of where we are these days, that we're all trying to learn. We're learning more that in terms of advertisers, which, Doc, we've seen those who have watched the broadcast, we've seen advertisers. I think last night I saw advertisers for the first time that maybe I didn't see
earlier
in previous games. I mean,
you had a couple of came in
the
last day. And some of them had like marketing material here, but they actually brought the activation units is what you're talking about, folks, to make sure that they could activate potential customers to the business, or at least make them more aware of the touch points of how they can take part in the products or service that they had. So you're actually right. And that we've seen it coming in. You've seen a lot more of that activation be a part of this championship scenario. So it seems like they've all been happy, they've been active. So that's important to see what that looks like. So I'm glad you brought that point up.
Having Saturday games turned out to be, from a conference level, a good thing.
Yeah.
I'm sure Grambling State and Alabama State, not happy about having that played Saturday. But the conference as a whole is like, hey, we're glad we had a Saturday game.
I wasn't either. I was planning to do some other things. But,
it totally took away my golf time. So.
Yeah, see?
I was going to go see Atlanta Brave game.
Yeah.
So.
Everybody was just too tired to go see the Braves.
If I had to be around here for good HBCU SWAC baseball, it was a good place to be. So it turned out well.
Wow, just happened to just glance down at the field. You see this kind of the social media teams for Bethune and Florida A&M getting those pre-game graphics that you guys will see on your social media feed with the trophy. That's the kind of, you talked about this the other day. The beauty of getting to the ballpark early. Now, I know there's no like live batting cage out there, like if you go to an MLB game, but if you get here early, you see all kinds of stuff going on. You see families getting a chance to chat with players. There's accessibility,
old media
friends.
folks.
Yep.
Got the Cat Eye Network in here. This young brother putting in work back here. You see him in front of you, see that, and it's fascinating to see in regards to those little nuggets, as I like to call
Yeah,
it.
so many moving parts, and so lots of moving parts. All right, let's.
We overdue.
Okay. Thank you, Drew, for keeping track of that. All right, let's say
gotta pay the bills.
Gotta pay the bills. Is this the last one before it's?
Because
right.
This will be our last break. Then we'll come back.
Mr. Tuskegee back there, Atlanta.
We'll try to break down some of the
we'll get into
starting pitchers,
starting lineups, and all that good stuff.
We'll give some of our in-game analysis and breakdown, and our parting shots.
Predictions, you guys in the chats, wherever you're watching us on Facebook, on YouTube. Time to get in with those predictions now. Let us know who wins this contest today.
Put the one finger up as you go out to text, though, and leave the church. That's all I'm gonna say. Put that finger up.
Oh my goodness. We'll be back right after this short break.
I have in me the ability to make you a better you. So if you work hard, focus, stay on point, you can do anything. Trust me.
We made this track to tell everybody they can follow their dreams.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Kever's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KeaversVoice.com. Kever's Voice, Kever's Voice, KeversVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
When we invest in ourselves, our glow, our vision, our vibe, we all shine. Together, we are black beyond measure.
Remember the revival? Relive the remix. Reunite for the Orange Blossom Classic. HBCU Reunion Experience. It's year 3, baby, and we back with that fire. Calling all HBCU fans. Labor Day weekend. The I Love Jackson State University takes on the Venomous Florida A&M University. Tickets are on sale now. Watch the game in premium style seating or watch it from a luxury suite. And of course, you know the halftime show is going to be epic right here in the 305. The sonic boom of the South and the illustrious Marching 100. Who you rocking with? The 2023 Orange Blossom Classic. Don't miss the HBCU Reunion Experience. Labor Day weekend, Miami Gardens, Florida, Hard Rock Stadium. Trust me, we'll see you there. Oh. Check out OrangeBlossomClassic.com for tickets and info.
All right, welcome back. We are probably about 30 minutes away from first pitch. This is our last segment here of the BCSN pregame for the 2023 SWAC Baseball Championships between Florida A&M and Bethune-Cookman University. A little series history here between FAMU and Bethune.
This should be fun.
Yeah. I'm not really sure how far back. I think this is maybe as far back as 2011. So Bethune-Cookman with a 39-28 wins over losses record against Florida A&M. So I don't know. Somebody do a quick math. That's 40. It's almost 60. Let's see. 70 minus 3 is 67 games. Over the last 67 games, Bethune-Cookman has won 39 of them.
58.2% winning percent.
Okay. The last time these teams played, May 14th, Florida A&M ended up getting a walk-off win 5-4 in the 10th inning of that contest. The Rattlers had a 4-1 lead going into the bottom of the ninth. The Wildcats do what the Wildcats do. put 3 in the bottom of the 9th, and then force it into a 10th, where FAMU ended up getting the win with a run in the top half and then closing it down. In case you wondered, the longest winning streak of this series by FAMU was 6 games back in from 2015 to 2016. Let's see, last 10 matchups have gone 6-4 in favor of Bethune. So that's essentially last season and this year. And I think this year it's 4-2. Excuse me. So if you kind of think about that for a second, that win by FAMU at home ended a 4-game losing streak to the Wildcats. So for a period of time, the Wildcats had won 4 straight, which is why I'm not gonna lie, I was a little miserable for a moment. I was quietly rooting for the Florida final, but I would not have been mad. I mean, it is what it is. You know,
at least you're truthful about it.
Kofi would tell me, Brian, cut that out. You know, we beat the Wildcats. I know, Kofi, I know. All right, we here though. So okay, but that's just me. That I break it down like that sometimes. So
you got to do what you got.
I got to do. That's how I analyze things. Okay, so in terms of
as you're looking at that and finalize it, we got Bethune-Cookman with the maroon tops, white bottom. FAMU with the green tops, white bottoms.
Classic looks for both programs. I love it.
Exactly. White caps with the FAMU logo on there, and Bethune-Cookman coming out with their maroon caps.
All right, let's get into the pitching lineup. We get the aces for both staffs. As Coach Hernandez and Coach Shute would say, the Friday guys, the day ones, the day ones. You disagree?
No.
Oh, okay. I was like, okay.
He just saying, because he think about how long they will last in the game. Will be
okay. So let's start before I get into the history. We can go back and look at the previous contest. Anything stand out for you, Charles? We look at the previous appearances by Santos, which I believe was day 1 against Southern, and Veets day 1 against Texas Southern.
What I remember about Santos day 1 was inability to stay ahead of batters. But I think he went 7 innings, if I'm not mistaken. But it was a little bit of a challenge, a little bit of a fight, and I think Bethune-Cookman lost that first game. He couldn't keep that lead runner off base, so that was one of the things I was thinking about. But when you talk about a pitcher who has stuff, and Nolan Santos has, swinging looking stuff, freeze frame stuff. He has good stuff, so it'll be very interesting early on to see if he has his breaking pitch working today, that knee buckler changeup that he has.
Anything from Veets that you recall? Veets, of course, went 7 innings, ended up with the victory, 5 hits, no runs, no earned runs allowed, struck out 5 against Texas Southern.
Yeah, I think it was just the inverse. He was able to stay ahead of batters, and he was able to work both sides of the plate. That's one thing I remember Coach Keller talking about in regards to pitchers, this generation of pitchers having issues just throwing inside. We've seen a few hit batters and guys just not getting that inside pitch, but Hunter Veets was able to work both sides of the plate. And one of the things that I, remember the coaches talking about, huge for them, is changing the eye level of the batters. I think that's something that to pay attention to today, whether they can get that pitch down and away and then come back up and in with a fastball and kind of get that strike and kind of stay ahead of batters.
Just in case you're unfamiliar, Santos, the 6'1", 200-pound junior, is from Miami Beach, Florida, went to Miami Beach High School. I believe he's second in the nation, something going into the tournament in terms of strikeouts.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
He has swing and miss stuff.
Yeah. And
if he's on, it's going to be interesting to see the type of adjustments that are made to try to get him off his square a little bit. Extra timeouts, stepping out of the box. But now you got the pitch clock, and the enforcement of that in this new game is going to be interesting because you can't play that as
plays.
much. Yeah, you can't play as much as you used to be able to try to throw a pitch off the game.
Mm-hmm. And I remember there's been 2 plays distinctly that I remember that have been wiped off the board due to a pitch clock violation.
Yeah, both of them were outs. One was a fly out in the game, and one was a strikeout. One of them earlier, unlike the second one against FAMU, where they end up getting it out, getting the win. The other one, the inning carried on a little bit. It wasn't any damage, but you're right. It's fascinating to see how that pitch clock, if you would, and forcing the game to move along plays into this new age of baseball.
And Hunter Veets is 6'4", 220 from Pensacola, Florida. His second year with the Rattlers. He came as a transfer from Auburn University, Montgomery. And so he has, he's found his place as I think both of these guys are first team all SWAC pitching, correct?
Yes,
okay.
Yes, they are.
So I mean,
a great pitching matchup today.
Great pitching matchup. All right, let's turn to the lineups. So Florida A&M is the visiting team. They're hitting first. Do we have? We do have the lineups here.
Yep.
All right, so the lineups. We've got leading off for FAMU, Ty Jackson, who has been hitting. Well, let's see. We can go to. As I go through these names, I'll let you guys see if you guys anything that pops out in their tournament stats.
Sure.
Ty Jackson leading off for FAMU, playing center. Ty Hanchy batting second and catching. Jared Weber batting third, playing left. The cleanup man is FAMU's big-time home run hitter, Sebastian Greco, who plays first. Gianmichael Bastardo, who I believe has maybe had 3 homers in this tournament, bats fifth, plays right. Joseph Perini playing DH, batting sixth. Will Brown, who sort of made a name for himself in this tournament, if you didn't know who he was. The second baseman, batting seventh. Adam Hidermoto, batting eighth and playing third. And Jalen Niles, the shortstop, batting ninth. Anything that stand out, Charles, as you kind of go through their tournament stats or just in general as you covered?
The big thing, of course, coming into this game is FAMU has played the long ball. Gianmichael Bastardo, you mentioned him, 3 home runs. Sebastian Greco, he's had a huge tournament. And when you stop and kind of look at Florida A&M's offense, Sebastian Greco and Joseph Perini, 2 players with 50-plus RBI. So the big thing is going to be the table setters, getting guys in front of Gianmichael Bastardo, in front of Greco, and seeing if you can make some hay with a big inning. But their offense has been pretty scary in this tournament.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if Ty Jackson can get it going a little bit. He's batting well under his average for the year. So his tournament, which has been solid, but in terms of batting, he's batting at 250 versus batting at 364. So I'm interested to see if he can get it going along with those that have been able to play the long ball to see what that little mix gets in.
I thought about, Charles, your favorite stat, your on base percentage. Will Brown,
579.
Yeah. And slugging percentage of 786.
Yeah, he's been a real table setter.
Yeah. All right, let's jump over to Bethune's lineup here. They are leading off with the third baseman, Luis Turo, playing center, batting second, Garrett Chun. Batting third, wearing number 8 today, not number 4, so it'll be number 8 is Highland Hall, the right fielder. In the cleanup spot is the left fielder, Boris Pena. Batting DH and hitting fifth, Robert Moya. Batting sixth, playing first base, Manny Sofran. And catching, batting seventh, Irvan Escobar. Batting eighth, playing second base, Colton Olison. And batting ninth, playing shortstop, Jeremy Garcia. What stands out there for you there, Charles, and then Doc?
They really haven't hit the long ball, but here's the thing that jumps out with Bethune-Cookman. When they go through when they see this pitcher the second or third time around, they tend to come alive in the second third of the 9 innings and the last part of the game. So I've noticed their at-bats get much better as the game progresses, and we've seen this with them. Once they start jabbing you, they don't stop. they've had innings where, you take a look at the aggregate of 3 innings, they scored 10 runs. Take a look at the aggregate of another game, 12 runs. So it's almost like a boxer that just jabs you to death. They don't stop. They have great at bats, short, compact swings. They go right back up the middle, and they just single you to death. And then comes the big-headed double. So, I mean, they're a very consistent offense in this tournament.
Yeah, I'm looking at a couple of batters that are just tearing the cover off the ball. They might not be going long, but putting that ball in play and getting on base is fascinating because these guys are well above their average for the year. So you got Escobar, who was batting .331. He's batting .563 for the tournament. You look at Moya, who went .324 during the year. He's at .471 for the tournament. So they're doing really well. In the last one there at Garcia, in terms of just batting .267 for the year. Guess what he's doing? He's over 400. So you have 3 guys particularly that are over 400. Can they continue to be hot at the plate?
Yeah.
Hall has been consistent in terms of what he did for the year. So he's probably going to be there at 364. And guess what he did for the tournament? He's at 364.
Yeah.
So he's been batting right on pace.
And pay attention to the number 2 batter in the lineup. He's not really hitting a ton, but he's watching the ball so very well. I think he has
taking a lot of pitches.
Yeah, Garrett Chun. He's making pitchers like eat up pitches in the count. So he's had a very disciplined at the plate. Yeah.
The one little stat here as we get ready to get close to wrapping up, I want to bring up for Santos in the 2 meetings this year against Florida A&M. He is, I don't know if he's necessarily, well, let's see. Florida A&M beat Bethune back on March 31st. Santos went 7 innings, gave up 3 earned, struck out 10 in that contest. FAMU won 7-5. And then the second meeting, he went 7 innings as well, only gave up 2 earned runs, struck out 10. So he has had he's been a difficult guy for FAMU.
We're going to see some Ks today.
For Veets against Bethune, which is what's kind of interesting. This might, look, he's only gone 5 innings against Bethune back on that March 31st game. And then he only went 6 innings in that May 12th contest. Didn't necessarily give up, only in terms of earned runs in that second contest. That was a big win for Bethune. He only gave up 2 earned runs. I mean, there were 6 scored, so it wasn't all on him. So can Veets go 7? Can he go longer? And then the question is Santos, who I believe only went, he did go 7. So we'll see. All right, let's go prediction time or keys to the game. Keys to the game prediction time here as we got to be out of here in a couple minutes. I'll start with Drew back there. Keys to the game and prediction, Drew.
Bethune has been down every game in this tournament. Even their big win on yesterday technically was a come-from-behind victory as they went down 2-0 early to Grambling State. FAMU has been up on their opponents and have, as Alabama State walked them down one time, and they fought hard to hold Alabama State off the last couple of times that they played them. So that's the thing that I want to see. Will the tables turn, or will we see those same trends by both teams, where Bethune start down and then fight their way back and take the lead, or with FAMU, you have the ability to go up early and hold off their opponent? Pitching leans a little bit more towards Bethune, but my heart bleeds green and orange, so there's no way in hell on my podcast that I can pick Bethune. I will say, I will say like this though. It would be a good story if Bethune winds up winning, considering everything that they've been through this year. But wouldn't it be a better story if FAMU becomes the bookend champion of SWAC championships, winning the first championship in volleyball of the season and the last season of baseball of the season? So I'm going to leave it right there while I turn it over to the Inside the Sports Lab group.
All right, Charles, go.
I think it comes down to the last couple innings. One person who we've seen in every game as far as pitching is Zach Murray. And Coach Shoops calls him Everyday Murray. How do the Bethune-Cookman batters fare against Murray? in the last third of the ball game. That's going to be a very interesting matchup to me. But Bethune has impressed me all throughout this tournament. I don't think there has not been one game where they have not been down and they have fought back from adversity. That's where I see this game coming down to.
I like what FAMU has done. The Rattlers have played really well and showed why they came in the number 3 seed in the East, playing some good baseball. But here comes the but. I'm going to go with my colleague, Charles. I'm going with Bethune-Cookman. A little biased there. I like the fact that Coach Johnny Hernandez gave us the interview. He's been keeping up with us. But in serious, because the way I had a chance to talk to him, his calmness is at a different level for this tournament. So. And I think his team plays at that level. And we gave you some of the stats I think is going to be there. But I think this is a team of destiny in a lot of ways in regards to them turning this program back into the type of perennial program it's been. And there's something about FAMU being able to get over the hump against Alabama State.
That was huge.
Even though Alabama State dominated the series, I'm hesitant to see FAMU being able to do it again against a team that has showed over the series that they've been able to beat them. But it's a one-game scenario. At the end of the day, I'm going with Bethune-Cookman Wildcats to get it done.
Did FAMU win their SWAC championship against Alabama State?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Woo! That's a loaded question, man. That's I thought about that driving in. I'm like, man, I hope we didn't get comfortable thinking that hey, we beat the best, the quote unquote the best record team, and it would feel kind of.
We defeated Alabama State for volleyball championship too.
It would feel kind of flat though. Okay, so I will say this: FAMU struck out 10 times against Santos in the 2 previous meetings. Will the FAMU batters make Santos work? Will they show patience and wait? A lot of guys have been jumping on the first pitch. Will we see the patience by the FAMU batters with this being their 3rd time seeing Santos? For Bethune, you guys have said it well. They've been behind. What would it look like? Well, we saw what it looked like yesterday when they jump ahead.
Actually, they started off behind.
Did they start behind? Okay,
and then they opened up and got ahead and would never challenge.
So then I go back to what I said. If Bethune jumps ahead, what will it look like for them? Because they have not had a lead or started the game from in front. So that's what I'm looking for. You guys know.
Hey, Deuce, do you want to break the tie? It's 2-2.
Deuce, you got a prediction? You got a prediction here? Who you got? Who you got, Deuce? Who you got? Deuce, going back down there.
Going back. Give me my charge.
Going back down there underneath the man. I didn't know you was gonna come into the mic and do that.
He forgot who charged.
That was savage. That was savage. All right.
Hey, Florida Classic, Atlanta style. State of Florida wins.
I do want to say a big up. Seriously, the FAMU and Bethune-Cookman. This is the way you do it. You do it on the field.
Yeah.
Let the fans do all the talking, all that good stuff, good and bad in terms of this. But when you get a chance to do it on the field and show up in terms of welcome to the SWAC, this is a statement in year number 2. Well done by both FAMU and Bethune-Cookman.
Yes, indeed.
I see a good crowd of Wildcats. I see Rattlers. Oh, you're about to get a great Florida Classic reunion here. This is about to get ugly. This is going to be a good one, folks. This is going to be great. Rattlers and Wildcats in the house, in the ATL. We got a good one here. I want to thank everybody from the SWAC, from the commissioner, Dr. Charles McClellan, to Andrew Roberts, to everybody who's been around to make this possible.
Thanks to James Crenshaw for letting me borrow his extra headset because we had 4 people and 3 headsets for this show.
Good guy.
Very much so.
Yeah, so
sports information, folks that have been giving us all the good data that we've been able to provide you. That's been great.
Good luck to the coaches. 2 great coaches, 2 coaches that we definitely enjoy, Coach Hernandez, Coach Shoup. Good luck to these teams. We are going to sign off now as you can get ready to watch this contest on ESPN+. So for Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, Doc, Charles Bishop, for the SportsWrap, AD and I. No show tonight.
ONG StrikeZone.
No show tonight. Yep. Shout out to the ONG and everybody who watched. Let's get ready.
Course.
Lecture.
Dismiss.
Time for light, everybody.
But my beats, they are hard.